Have you ever wondered what's going to happen to humans? What's happening to humanity and this path that we're on? Are things getting better or are they getting worse? Once in a while, I get away from all the technology and I walk around and I ponder these things. But in this particular case, on this thought, I was woken up at 3 a.m. with this message or with this thought. I don't know what it is. I really would rather sleep at 3 a.m. And I don't know if there's any of you guys out there that get all of a sudden randomly wake up at 3 a.m. quite often or now and then. But it is very bizarre when I look at the clock and it says 3 a.m. and it doesn't say 3:01 or very strange. But I'm going to share with you what I'm thinking because this is very important and it is related to AI. Now, before we get started, my name is Sean. I have a background in tech. In this channel, we talk about AI and AI's effect on humanity. And when I talk to you in a very honest, open, unscripted way. And when you hear me pause, it's just because I'm thinking about what I'm about to say before I say it to you. Now, let's get started. As you guys can notice, I've got quite a scenery behind me. That's because I'm walking around in Monument Valley. I decided why don't I randomly walk around in Monument Valley, Arizona. And this is actually a really good place to talk to you about this because it's very, very primitive here. It almost looks like Mars. The dirt is so red. But I was thinking about where ancient peoples came from all the way till now. And are things getting better from what they had to experience, or are they getting worse? And I honestly think they're getting worse. I feel like we are technologically advancing ourselves to extinction. We are becoming so technologically advanced that we're one step away from becoming primitive. It's a weird concept, but that's what came to me at 3 a.m. And I'll explain why. Now, in the early days, ancient people, they had to struggle to find water, and find food, and shelter, and they had to protect themselves. I mean, these were very basic, simple needs, but very difficult. Very hard life when that's all you're desperately trying to get. And then as time went on, humanity invented things, new technologies, some good, some bad. We invented the wheel. We invented farming. And once we invented farming, then civilizations started to thrive because then we didn't have to worry about hunting all the time for your next meal. Farming allowed us to sustain large populations. And then, over time, more technology and more. And I've studied this quite a bit. But now, we've seen the biggest change in humans ever since the beginning of time. I think farming was probably one of the biggest advancements that affected humans. But I'm going to tell you what has really affected humans, even more so, and faster. I would say the invention of the internet. When the internet became popular in the 1990s, all of a sudden, our world became smaller, things became more convenient, and we stopped talking to each other quite as much in person. And then, bring on AI. AI is going to make things 100 times worse. And the reason I say that is because AI is not like a typical industrial revolution. You know, there are people that have brought up the fact to me that when the automobile was invented, there was a big panic about horses and wagons and things like that. That was all going away. And we survived that, so we'll survive this. But I would say to you, this is far different because that was a means to get around. Now, what's happening with AI? AI is replacing thought itself. It is making things so easy for us that we don't have to do anything. So, what happens now? AI and the internet have become a crutch for humans. And as time goes on, it's going to become more and more of a crutch. And the bigger the crutch people have, when you take away that crutch, they can't survive. Think about what we use the internet for. We use the internet to find information, to purchase things, to do our banking, to communicate with each other, to get our news. And now that you add AI, AI is going to make things much worse because there's going to be a level of control added to the mix. And as we give ourselves to AI, we're going to find out that we are becoming enslaved. And I would say that AI, you're going to start seeing it become even more intrusive, especially the older people. You're going to realize how it is going to inject itself between you and everything else. You're going to find out that when you go to do your banking, AI is involved. And when you go to get directions on how to go somewhere, AI will be involved. And when you get your news, world news, local news, opinions, it will be from AI. If you guys have noticed this already, you go on Facebook, they put an AI thing in there where if there's a big conversation and people are commenting, AI will be at the top of it and it'll tell you what everyone's kind of saying. In other words, AI is going to be the middleman between you and everything, even you and your family and friends. And AI will not only be offering its opinion, it'll be monitoring you and even controlling you. And so, as we progress as humans and think about the atomic bomb, the nuclear bomb, think about how dangerous that is. And once we found out how dangerous it is, governments started controlling it the best they could, as far as they don't let the average person handle that or decide whether they're going to use it. But AI is completely different because it is advancing so fast. They're putting up these beast building data centers everywhere. Power plants are going up all over the place. And they're just letting this thing run wild. And there are going to be consequences to this. There's going to be some very bad results. But what they're doing is they're setting up a system where we become dependent. As people, you will no longer have a choice of whether you want to use AI or not. Like I said, right now, if you look around, they're inserting it in everything. And so, as we move along, AI makes us more dependent on it. it's not only a crutch, but it's going to be critical for us. And the older people are a little more resistant to this because we knew the times before all this stuff, even before the internet. We remember what it's like, so we know we can do just fine without it. But the younger generations have all been trained, especially through the pandemic and what happened there and the control that happened there. The younger generations are actually much more accepting of AI. They're looking at all of us like we're out of touch, like we're space aliens or something. And so, I can talk to people my age. I'm in my 50s. I can talk to people my age. I can talk to people older than me. They get it. But try talking to a younger person about this stuff. They don't get it. And so now we've got this situation where AI is going to be controlling everything. If you think about everything in your life from the moment you get up in the morning, your refrigerator is going to be AI. Your lights, your electric. When you get in your car, there's going to be AI in your car. They're already putting that in now, but there's going to be more regulations put in that force people to have AI everywhere. And then when you go to work, if you even have a job, if AI didn't replace your job already and you go to work, there's going to be AI, or you're going to be using AI. And so what I'm getting at is that as we become more dependent on this for life, if and when it collapses or it gets taken away, then society will break down really fast because your banking won't work, your cars won't work, nothing will work. You won't even be able to communicate with anybody. And some people, especially the younger generation, they don't even have the ability to do that. And so what happens if everything is taken away from us and you're forced to survive? Can you find water? Can you find food? Like I said, the younger people, they think food comes from the store. Well, if it all breaks down, are they just going to go stand at the store? How are they going to survive? And so what I'm getting at is at 3 a.m., I got this thought. You can call it a message or whatever. I don't know what it is. But at 3 a.m., I thought of humans advancing, collapse. They never advance forever. It goes up to a certain point, and then all of a sudden, they become weak. People become physically weak because they don't have to do as much, and they become mentally weak because they don't have to think anymore. They don't have to think about anything because AI is going to tell you what to think. So you're physically weak, you're mentally weak, and those people will not survive. And unfortunately, that's a lot of our younger generation. And I don't know what to do about it, but the message, I should get back to the message. I just kind of got off on that. The message is that we're not in a loop where we go technologically advanced and then we start tapering down. We're going to go full on, and we're one step away from being primitive again. As soon as this thing gets up there where people can't survive on their own, we're going to go primitive. And then you're going to see 99% of the people will not be able to survive. They'll actually die. Take away your electricity, take away your power, take away your food, your water, what are they going to do? They don't have skills. And so the older people, this is obvious. Exercise your brain. We got to keep exercising our brains. And if you got younger people in your life, I know they don't want to hear you because you're fossilized, like some of the dinosaur bones out there. But it is important to encourage our younger generation to think for themselves, because we're about to have a whole bunch of fake dumped on us. AI is going to encourage the fake. It's going to be able to control the news. And you guys are even going to notice if something happens in your neighborhood and you witnessed it, you witnessed something firsthand, you're going to notice that AI might have a completely different story about what happened that you saw. It's going to tell you, don't believe your lying eyes. Here's what happened. That's the control and the narrative that'll be pushed. You guys are going to realize that what you see is real around you, but when you look at AI, it's going to be fake. There's going to be a lot of fake going on. And so it is very important that we start thinking. Get the kids to think. And one of the things that I really try to do with my kids, and if you guys have grandkids and stuff like that, if you have a skill, if you know how to cook, or if you know how to build something, or if you know mechanical work, bring your kids over and have them help you with it. It's not going to kill them. Give your kids some skills. Because if you truly care about them and you don't want them to be the 99% that just won't make it without the internet and AI and electricity and everything else, give them some skills. Because even if you have them help you do an oil change on your car, then all of a sudden in their mind they're like, hey, I did something that I thought you just pull into a shop and they just do it. You're opening up doors for the younger people to make them realize that if they put their mind to something, or if they figure out how to do it, they can do it. And try to get people to walk away a little bit. Any of you guys that have groups that you meet up with people, get them out in nature. It's amazing. The further I get people away sometimes, out in nature, away from internet, you watch some of them, they start panicking. It's like, I look at them and I'm like, what's wrong with you? And they're just like almost shaken. They're like, they want to know who texted them. But we don't get reception, so we can't find that out, so be patient. But we have people almost have mental breakdowns when they get away from their technology. Not me. I'm more of an old soul. I'm more of a primitive mindset, not trying to be a Neanderthal, but I just look at everything from the basics. I look at the world from the basics, and I taught my kids this. I said to my kids, ever since they're grown up, I taught them survival and everything. I taught them so many things I know. I'm not talking about just tech. I have a lot of skills. I tried to count all the skills, and I couldn't count them all, but I tried to get the kids involved in everything. And one of the things I told them is that even though things are comfortable for you in this life, we're all in a survival situation. It's just that if you're in a house, you have a nice car, whatever, you're still surviving. You're in a survival situation. You're just surviving with style. And as soon as you leave your house in your car, You hit the road and you're driving out there with all the other people. It's a matter of survival. Everybody's in a survival situation. So it just depends on how dependent are you on things. If you lose your car, can you walk? I know some people in America are so big they can't walk. They would die. But, you know, I've had that mindset. Take this away, that away, take the electricity away from me. I'm going to survive. I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to use my brain. I am not going to let AI use a brain for me. I'm not going to rely on AI to do my thinking. And in a survival situation, I am not going to go to AI and say, how do I survive? I'm just going to survive. Because I can. Because I can. So anyway, that's my rant for right now. I hope you guys enjoyed the scenery around me. Got some cool plateaus and pinnacles all around me. I'll show you some back there. Kind of on this barren wasteland here. It's hard to believe people survived out here. Amazing. Most people you know wouldn't even last a day out here. Anyway, that's it for now. And remember, for everything we gain, there is something lost.